Well, I got carried away here and I let this thing expire on me, but I got to try to accomplish this and show this. Now, let me start at verse 2. And again, 10:2. And he spake unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thy hand with coals of fire from between the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. Now the cherubim stood on the right side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Then the glory of the Lord went up from the cherubim and stood over the threshold of the house. And the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was filled full of the brightness of the Lord's glory. And the sound of the cherubim's wing was heard even to the outer court, as the voice of the Almighty God when he spoke. In other words, he's telling you that there was an explosion when the space shuttle came down after they had fought against Iraq. And Jesus went in with his body of fire and he illuminated the space shuttle. He exploded this thing coming over Texas. Coming over to Texas, preparing the way, preparing to land. And it came to pass that when he had commanded the man clothed with linen, saying, Take fire from between the wheels, from between the cherubim, then he went in and stood beside the wheel. And one cherubim, he said one cherubim, stretched forth his hand from between the cherubim unto the fire that was between the cherubim, and took thereof and put it in the hand of him that was clothed with linen, who took it and went out. And there appeared in the cherubim the form of a man's hand on their wings. He went back through that. And when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubim, one wheel by one cherubim, and one wheel and another wheel by one by one cherubim, and another wheel by another cherubim. The appearance of the wheels was as the color of beryl stone, the aluminum, and as for their appearance, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel, a tire and a rim. When they went upon their four sides, ever they turned not as they went, but to the place where the head looked. They followed it. They turned not as they went. And their whole body, and their backs, and their hands, and their wings, and their wheels were full of eyes round and about, even the wheel, even the wheel that they four had. It didn't say nothing about the wheel had eyes in Ezekiel chapter 1. It didn't say. Check the record over. Because this was the made flight. You can't see the wheel. The wheel is tucked on the inside as a B because it had ox power. But when he said these here had eyes on the wheel, it let you know that this vehicle had made it down below the critical point of the electromagnetic generator field. And as it was gliding, it had to open up these hatches and let down the wheel. And when it let down the wheel, they have lights on the wheel that you can see. These was the eyes on the wheel. It never spoke of this thing in the first part of Ezekiel when he spoke about the space shuttle, when he saw it making his first maiden flight. But upon the return, after they had fought with Iraq and had fought with Iraq and returning back into the earth, he said, I saw eyes on the wheel. You can't deny this here. Go back and check the rest. As for the wheels, it was cried unto them in my hearing, O wheels, and everyone had 4 faces. The first face was the face of a cherub. The cherub, that you know, is out of space, which is the cockpit. The second face was the face of a man. It wasn't no, and the third face of a lion. The man was still the navigator. The lion was just there for the ride, watching, going to and fro in outer space. Because at the end of the day, in the end of the time, during the revelation of Jesus Christ, the lion was going to take control over this vehicle. And the fourth, the face of an eagle. Eagle is the flyer, the space shuttle itself, having the ability to fly higher than any man-made runway aircraft. And the cherubim were lifted up, and the cherubim were lifted up, telling you it was in outer space. This living creature that I saw by the river, this is the living creature that I saw by the river Chebar. And when the cherubim went, the wheels went by them. And when the cherubim lifted up their wing to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside them. When they stood, these stood, and when they were lifted up, these lifted up themselves also, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. He's telling you the life of the living creature, this space shuttle, depending upon wheels. Then the glory of the Lord departed from off the threshold of the house, and stood over the cherubim. And the cherubim lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. When they went out, the wheels also were beside them, and everyone stood at the door of the east gate. Out in the east, Middle East, what it was in the Middle East fight of the Lord's house. And the glory of the God of Israel was over them above. This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel by the river of Chebar. And I knew that they were the cherubim. Every one had 4 faces apiece, and every one 4 wings. And the likeness of the head of a man, the likeness of the hand of a man was under their wing. And the likeness of their faces were the same faces which I saw by the river Chebar. Their appearance and themselves, they went every one straight by. Okay. This was Jesus. God had Jesus to blow up the space shuttle after they had fought with Iraq the second time. George W. Bush. God had Jesus to blow up the space shuttle in 2003. I'm saying it, I said it over and over and over.